I'm looking at your book on page 392, and there's a lot of maps of this. And again, the designer of D.C. admitted it was occultic, but you've got the owl, you've got the Capitol in his belly, you've got all these things happening, the skull and crossbones. Can you speak about that?
That's right. The owl of Minerva. Minerva was another a being much like Athena, and Athena, by the way, is the owl goddess. The goddess of wisdom, so-called. She's in stone at the Capitol building, at the very top of the pediment. And this same goddess, by the way, is on Wall Street in New York City at the New York Stock Exchange building, which is built in the form of a great Greek temple. But back to the Owl of Minerva, the U.S. Capitol and its environs, the streets are laid out in the form of this magical night bird sacred to the goddess Minerva. Amazing thing. By the way, there's also the Skull and Bones in Washington, D.C. And the entire city itself, on page 391, you'll see Rothschild's hexagram, a six-pointed witchcraft hexagram on the street layout of Washington, D.C. And there's also the blazing star of Freemasonry and the occult, which is a pentagram, a five-pointed star, hidden in the street layout. So everything, they believe that these give the city tremendous occult powers, which they can use to harness this occultism to usher in the new world order that the Illuminists desire. So that they have built Washington, D.C. as a great city of Illuminati mystery. Now, everything is done numerologically, occultly, astrologically. For example, the great goddess atop the Capitol. Now, the Capitol building was built in the early 1800s, but would you believe they waited till the occult numerological year of 1860? Because the number 18 has three sixes in it, and then there's the six. A great occult numerological year when they finally mounted the great goddess atop the Capitol of the United States. And by the way, this was right at the beginning of the Great Civil War. And I believe the Civil War could have been fought partially as a great human sacrifice of blood to the gods of the ancients, the mystery religion. And so this is why they waited, and then they began this great, horrible catastrophe of the U.S. Civil War. And there then, when President Lincoln actually was president, the Masons, with a great ceremony, built the great goddess.
And by the way, they don't hide this. The Druids and other groups come out at Stonehenge, come out to Obelisk in Texas, England, in D.C., and do ceremonies of it. In fact, you have a article from the mainstream news on page 386, Circle of Harmony. Women perform a Taoist meditation at the 10th annual prayer vigil of the earth at sunrise in Washington, D.C., and they're doing it there at the Great Obelisk. I mean, all the occult groups know this, but then they all want us to be atheists. You notice these occultists that run things tell you there's no God, there's no religion, it's all bull, but meanwhile, they're all obsessed with it. So for the general public, they just want everybody blind, so they don't even have a choice.
That's true. Witches over Washington, D.C., I entitled that, on page 386.
Tex Mars is our guest, the one, the only, the new book. Absolutely amazing. You need to get it at Infowars.com, Mysterious Monuments. I was just now asking him behind the scenes, and he was just getting to it, about page 386, with the witches out worshiping at the phallus there in D.C., for everybody in the occult, they know what all this is. It's a big joke the general public doesn't know, and the occultists that run things work to teach you to be atheist, to teach you that there's nothing spiritual in the world, and that there aren't even people that believe in this. See, they don't want you looking into that, kind of like I got protested by the Bohemian Grove Action Network that was real mad about me saying there's occultism at the Grove and that I should just talk about world policy being set there. Well, I covered that too in my film Dark Secrets Inside Bohemian Grove. But then we went out the next year, and there they were doing a ritual, a lot of the members of it, sending in their own spirits to fight the global elite. Now, whether you believe it's real or not, the point is, they didn't want me talking about that. Tex, get into these witches.
Well, I have a picture from USA Today, a major publication, and by the way, the picture actually is from the Associated Press, in which these witches came to Washington, and they created a great circle, and they did it around the Washington Monument. So, which is over Washington, D.C., and they said we are going to have a 33-hour interfaith vigil to pray for peace and the natural world. Here again, the God of nature, Pan, the horned goat god. And it actually shows them raising up their hands to the skies and conducting their circle of harmony. Now, 33 hours. Now, they must have done this with great glee and fun because they think that we're all stupid. 33, of course, is the holy number of Freemasonry. Remember, it's the age at which Jesus Christ was slain on the cross, it's believed. So they enjoy thinking about the fact that Jesus was slain. They don't, of course, talk about his resurrection. Now, on that same page, Alex, is another picture from Google, a Google.com aerial view photo of the great 555-foot Washington Monument, the Egyptian obelisk, and it's showing it's essentially a great sundial, as well as an Egyptian monument. And I call it the phallus of Neptune or Poseidon. Remember the beast that's covered. The cover of my book has the picture in front of the Library of Congress. Revelation 13:1 in the Bible, John said, "I saw a vision." This is the Apostle John. This is prophecy now in the last days. He said, "I saw a vision of a great beast rising up out of the sea." And what is this beast rising up out of the fountain, which represents the sea, the chaos of humanity? He's rising up, and there he is in front of the Library of Congress. And by the way, on the opposite page, page 387, you see that the incredible Delphic oracle tripod fire urn, which has beasts, paws and feet, and the face of serpentine devils.
And as you said, you have the male phallus of the sea god rising out, the thing that should not be, out of the big reflecting pool as above below. So
that's right. Now, here's an interesting thing. In Alexandria, Virginia, now that's another city sister to Egypt's city of Alexandria, where they had the great Pharaoh's lighthouse that devoted to Zeus, who's the god of the skies, the god above, where Poseidon is the god below. And interestingly enough, in Alexandria, Virginia, the Masons built the Washington National Masonic Monument. They actually still have rituals and ceremonies inside this of the various Masonic orders, including the modern-day Knights Templar, they admit. And at the very top of it is a tower, and it is a recreation of the great lighthouse of Pharaoh's Egypt, in which was a great statue to Zeus. And Zeus had his hands reaching up to the heaven. Remember, Satan is prince of the power of the air, according to the Bible. So here we have below the phallus of Zeus, or Neptune, and there at the Washington National Monument is this great lighthouse. He's the god of light.
Well, it's the same thing. When I was at Bohemian Grove in the hour-long ritual, they first introduced it as a female. She heals you. She's great. She gives power. Let our dead brothers who were members be conjured by her. She orders them back from the dead. And the men around me were going, oh, and they were really, I mean, they were taking this, all these world leaders were really taking this serious, bringing back the spirits, of the dead ones to be there, this necromancy. Then they addressed it as a male god, of the forest, and so they always do the same thing. Tex, we're going to take a 3-minute break. When we get back, don't forget to make that statement, because you were interrupted by the break. When we come back, make that statement. We'll keep talking, and yes, take some phone calls with the one, the only Tex Mars. His new book is out, folks. Get it today at Infowars.com or by calling 888-253-3139. It's also a great gift to wake somebody up in your family. Okay, going back to Tex Mars, the new book is Mysterious Monuments, and Mysterious Monuments is a book, of course, that we're also carrying at Infowars.com, but you can also get it at PowerProphecy.com and at TexMars.com. Tex, make that statement that you were going to make earlier when we had a break. There was some key statement you wanted to make, and we forgot to do that.
Well, Alex, many listeners to your program are Christians. But there are also people who are not Christians but love liberty, love freedom, love our Constitution, and I appreciate them, even though I'm a Christian. I appreciate them very, very much. And no doubt there are people who are into Judaism and even Islam listening to your program. And they certainly have nothing to do with terrorist philosophies. Now, what we need to understand, whatever religion you have, or if you have none at all, we should all be opposed to false religion, a satanic religious philosophy. And what we have to understand, there's three legs to the New World Order. And the chief leg is religion. And the subordinate legs of the tripod, you might say, are politics and economics. But always, believe it or not, spirituality trumps the other two.